Many travelers dream of experiencing the beauty of Tanzania, from its stunning national parks to vibrant cultural sites. Yet the costs often seem overwhelming. But with Visit Tanzania for Less, exploring this East African gem on a budget is not only possible, but incredibly rewarding. Whether you're a solo backpacker, a volunteer, or just a budget-conscious traveler, we provide valuable insights and resources to make your journey unforgettable without breaking the bank. Book your trip now with just a $300 deposit and flexible monthly payments until your travel date. For more travel inspiration and tips, follow us on Instagram or visit us at visittanzaniaforless.com. Visit Tanzania for Less, your dream adventure within reach.
Good afternoon. My name is Melvin Burns. It is 2 p.m. here in Muskegon, Michigan. This is Community Focused. As you know, this program is hosted by my brother Gregory T. Roberts and myself. Gregory T. has been out for an extended period of time. We have heard a rumor that he may be back very shortly, so we look forward to that. Let's go to our weather for today. We have an exciting program ahead for you all. Today, there is a 100% chance of snow or whatever that thing is going on outside. We have a low of 30, a high of 40 degrees, but note for those high wind warnings out today. Tomorrow, 30% chance of snow, low of 26, high of 36. On Sunday, we have a low of 31, high of 51, 95% chance of rain or snow mix. On Monday, again, another 95% chance of rain snow mix, low of 17, high of 45. On Tuesday, and folks, I just report the weather, I don't create it, low of 16, high of 21. Next Wednesday, a low of 21, high of 36. And Thursday, low of 33, high of 43. And we don't expect to see the sun for a few more days here. All right, that is our weather for the next few days. If you are a regular listener to the show, you know that I like to give you my 5 list. Well, today is Friday the 13th, and many people have a fear of the number 13. People think that fear is called triskaidekaphobia, but actually it's not. That is the fear of the number 13. The fear of Friday the 13th, and I have practiced this, is frigatriskaidekaphobia, or paraskivadecatriophobia. That's right, I worked on those all morning. But for my 5 list today, how about 5 very common fears? We have acrophobia, which is the fear of heights, as in high places, not Muskegon Heights. We have claustrophobia, the fear of being in enclosed or confined spaces. Arachnophobia, the fear of spiders. Agoraphobia, which is some call the fear of open spaces, but it's actually the fear of being in situations or places where you can't easily escape. And I think that kind of ties in with what we often hear is one of the biggest fears people have is public speaking or standing in front of groups of people to speak. And number 5, social phobia, also known as social anxiety disorder. This is actually not currently listed as a specific fear, but it does a situation that causes a great deal of anxiety. Now, your bonus word for today is hippopotamonstrossequipedaliophobia, which is the fear of long words. All right. You won't remember that, and nobody ever says that word except you heard it today. So let's get to the reason you guys tune in to our program. Why don't you join me in welcoming the site manager for the Muskegon Heritage Museum of Business and Industry, Kirk Bunke. Kirk, welcome to the program.
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
Yeah, Kirk, first thing I want to ask you before we jump in, you got any fears?
I think you just ran through my list. Right there.
Okay.
Pretty much ticked everyone off.
Good. Well, thanks for participating in a little bit of nonsense. But tell folks a little bit about who you are and what you do.
I am, as you said before, I'm the site manager for the Muskegon Heritage Museum of Business and Industry, which means I get to wear a lot of hats at work.
Okay.
I'm working on preservation projects to help maintain our historic building that we're located in. We're working on a number of new exhibit installations for the season, do a lot of volunteer coordination and recruitment, work on some fundraising projects, pretty much whatever it takes to keep the lights on and the doors open.
Okay. So now let's, for folks that may not know, name of the museum and where it's located.
The Muskegon Heritage Museum of Business and Industry is located on Western Avenue at 561 West Western, right across from the Amazon building.
Okay.
We've been there at that location now for 45 years or so.
Okay.
It's a museum. The name kind of gives away what we're about. We're about businesses and industries in Muskegon County. We try to tell the story of heavy industry, major employers, and small businesses that run from the founding of Muskegon with the sawmills in the 1830s right up to today.
Okay. So if we come to the museum, we'll expect to sort of see that history of Muskegon and industry.
You'll see some of the history, but we also have some fun moving objects. We have a working coreless valve stationary steam engine. That was really the thing that helped us get the museum off the ground.
Okay.
So we can fire that up and show people how it works and how it's connected to the way that a lot of the factories here along the lakeshore operated in the early days. They used steam power to run all of the stationary machine tools that help to manufacture things, gasoline pumps and piston rings and milling machines and everything in between.
I'm born and raised in Muskegon County, went out for college, those things, but as guests come in, are a lot of them surprised about the history that Muskegon has and industry in the nation as a whole?
That's probably one of the chief pieces of feedback we get from our guests, whether they're lifelong Muskegon residents or first-time visitors. They had no idea how so many things that they use in their everyday lives were either developed here or manufactured here. And Muskegon, including Muskegon Heights and Whitehall and Montague, all the outlying communities, really has had a long tradition of innovation and developing products that people come to rely on.
What would some of those be?
Oh, if you're a gearhead, just about every early automobile in the country, other than Ford and General Motors, used Muskegon-made engines in their cars. So companies like Hudson and Rio and even Checker Cab all used engines that were made at Continental Motors here in town, right along the lakeshore.
Okay.
About half the gas stations in the country use Bennett gasoline pumps that were made here in Muskegon Heights and now in North Shores. So those are just two examples of how we impact the automobile industry.
Okay. I don't know if this is true, and I'd always heard this, that during World War II, that Muskegon was supposedly one of these sites that if Germany ever bombed the U.S., they had on their radar.
I keep hearing the rumor that we were the 8th targeted site or city in the country. I can't verify that. I've never been able to prove it, but I do know that Muskegon was the leading producer of war materials per capita during the war because of companies like Continental Motors and Lakey Foundry, Campbell Wyatt and Cannon here in Muskegon Heights. CWC made 85% of all the tank track that was used by the Allies, including Britain, France, and Russia. It was all made right here in town.
Wow. So that's a lot of good information. A lot of industries here in Muskegon over the last 100 plus years. How do you decide what items, to bring to the museum? I just picture like a big dumpster in the back or like, that's not museum stuff.
No, it's a little more complicated. Michigan has some pretty complicated regulations that oversee how museums work. But the way we pick what goes on in the museum started off sort of like a seafood diet where we see it, we want it, we find someone to donate it, then develop an exhibit around it. We've reached the point now where we're starting to rotate out some of the long-standing exhibits and update the style and include more information. One of the things that's happened over the last couple of years is that we've turned our focus more towards small businesses around Muskegon County.
Okay.
Today we don't have the major heavy industry employees that might employ 1,000, or Continental Motors case 11,000 employees. But there are hundreds or thousands of small businesses that employ the majority of people here in the county. So that's been a way for us to help bring in stories of small businesses that are really more realistic way to inspire people when you come in, because you're not likely to start a company that's going to build car engines for thousands of companies, but you might start a small business that employs 3 or 4, but then can grow up to be something much bigger. That's what we're working on these days.
Okay. When you talked about changing out some of the exhibits, you go to museums and what they put on the exhibit changes from time to time. What are you looking for when you do that? Are you trying to target a certain audience, or?
Sometimes it's targeting certain audiences. Sometimes it's an opportunity to just unveil or shed light on something that people haven't really given a lot of thought to. The thing we're really pretty close to installing at this point, now that we've been working with a group of community volunteers and community curators to develop and research, is about Black media in Muskegon County.
Okay.
I've learned a ton about it.
Tell us about that, and when we can expect to see that.
Well, we right now it looks like we should have it ready by the time we open for our drop-in tour season on May 1st. We've planned an official community unveiling on Friday the 15th of May.
Okay.
In the late afternoon and early evening.
Okay.
So that holds our feet to the fire to make sure we're done in time. It's been a really fun journey to learn about this. That group of community curators I mentioned has really led the way in doing a lot of the research and building the connections with the individual reporters and DJs and business owners around the community. And my job is to just sort of help push it across the finish line.
So give us a little highlight or tidbits what we might expect to see in that exhibit, if you can.
Well, I get the pleasure of going out to the printing presses for the Michigan Business Journal. Met Charles Fair out there, along with the man who runs the print shop, and we did a little photo shoot when he was picking up this month's edition. So he'll be featured pretty prominently in it as one of the owners of a really successful Black-owned media enterprise. We've been working with PA and Big Rob for your station to feature you guys in a little more depth than we did a few years ago. We did a Black-owned small business exhibit. We featured the station during that. But now we're going to be able to have some 3D objects and be a little more dynamic.
Yeah, growing up here, I can remember, waiting till it was like 6 or 9 at night to get the Black DJs on the country stations or the local stations. So, of course, I was common around the country, but that was just, going back to the 70s, probably thinking of that. So that should be interesting. Look forward to it.
We're pretty excited about it. Hope it turns out as well as we have it on paper. Okay.
Now you mentioned that's your tourist season. Kind of explain those hours to us.
So we're still a largely volunteer driven museum. So we rely on a lot of volunteer interpreters and guides, which these days young volunteers are in their mid to late 60s. So a lot of our volunteers now are snowbirds. So we're seasonal for drop-in tours Wednesday through Saturday from May 1st through October 31st. We're open 4 days a week from 11 to 4. You can just stop in. There's a little admission fee, but that gets you almost 12,000 square feet of exhibit space, 3 floors. Like I mentioned, the working steam engines and some pretty cool dynamic exhibits. So we really encourage people to drop in. We do once a month, we have a program called Community Days that are underwritten by corporate sponsors that cover the cost of admission, so it's free.
Okay.
Generally, those are the first Saturdays of the month, but this year we're experimenting with trying to be open free on this Saturday during bike time in Rebel Road.
Okay.
So
Very
that
interesting.
changes that date schedule around a little bit.
Okay, so very interesting. You mentioned volunteers. I always like, for community organizations. Talk about volunteers, what they do, and then we can make an appeal for volunteers as well.
It's exactly what I was hoping to get out of this.
Sure.
We have volunteers that work in a bunch of different categories. If you're not fond of public speaking, we have some behind the scenes things where we need help with our collections care and management, the kind of daily bookkeeping of record keeping of all the things we have in the museum. The biggest need we have during our open season, though, is for guides, people who can be friendly and chat up our guests and share a little bit of their passion for history or for industry. We usually, for those volunteers, we usually look for a 1 day a month for the 6 month open period. So you're looking for like a 6 hour a month commitment. You can volunteer a lot more than that if you want to, but that's our minimum ask. And most people are pretty good about that. I do have a group of volunteers that come all winter long, once a week. They help with the historic preservation projects and the exhibit prep and all the really exciting things like drywall work and painting. And right now we're working on replacing some of the 116-year-old windows in the building, building those from scratch and reinstalling those.
Sure. Okay. And you mentioned having sponsors. We know, again, we were talking before we went on air, museums, most civic organizations, community organizations, we run tight ships. We don't have a lot of surplus. If you want to talk about sponsorship, is there room for other sponsors to come on board?
Oh, absolutely. We're always willing to take people's money if we can put it to good use.
Sure.
The general funding structure for our museum is we have a small operating millage that's paid for by property tax values, but it's a very small portion of our operating budget, well less than 25%.
Okay.
The rest is raised through individual memberships, corporate memberships, sponsorships, private philanthropy, just regular donations. It's an odd mix of funding that allows us to keep the lights on and open the doors and pay for heating and air conditioning and all that fun stuff.
Yeah. No, museums can be kind of a challenge to get younger people to go spend time. What kind of things do you do in that area to kind of engage young people in the museum?
Our biggest effort on that front is the school programming that we offer.
Okay.
During this off season, we run an awful lot of elementary school and now increasingly more middle and high school programs. And we find that that's the way to catch kids' interest. We do some fun things with the students so that not only are they learning some history, but they're maybe squeezing in a little bit of science and a little bit of social studies. And along the way, if we can inspire them to want to come back and see more or learn more about our shared past, that's good for everyone, not just the museum field, but the residents of the community as well.
Okay. Folks, we're on the air. We're speaking with Kirk Bunke, who is the site manager for the Muskegon Heritage Museum of Business and Industry here in Muskegon, Michigan. If you haven't not been there, this is a chance to learn a little bit more and maybe put on your calendar to stop into the museum. Kirk, you mentioned you're in a 100-plus-year-old building. Now, is that building, are you using the full capacity of that building now, or do you have room to grow?
That's part of the reason we're starting to rotate out exhibits. It took the better part of 40 years to fill the whole building.
Okay.
And now we're sort of at our limit. So now we're starting to rotate new things in so people get a chance to see some new sides of history. Plus, occasionally it's a good idea to let artifacts rest and come off display for a while. So it works into our museum strategy.
Okay. You mentioned this working steam engine. Is that what you said?
Yeah.
Tell me about that a little bit more. I'm curious.
So if you can remember back to the early 80s here in well, in Muskegon, right on Western Avenue, the Brenneman Hartshorn Roller Shade Factory.
Okay.
Most residents call it the Roller Curtain
Okay.
Factory, was closing down. They were
Mhm.
moving operations down south, and the crew that was there to disassemble the factory had really determined that the one steam engine that they still had left from their early days was pretty significant. They wanted to see it saved. That gave our organization time to
Mhm.
find a new location for it. We actually acquired the building that we're in from the city of Muskegon for $1. It had
Okay.
had a fire in the late
Oh,
70s
okay.
and had been let go for back taxes.
Mhm.
So we got the building, and fortunately for us, some of the volunteers at the time were really skilled tradesmen, and there was a structural engineer, and they kind of did all the really difficult lifting to
Mhm.
get the building ready and to prepare the groundwork for the steam engine to be moved. And they moved it about this time, 1983. So it's mid-March, I think.
Mhm.
It's a coreless valve stationary steam engine. It originally was used to produce electricity in the factory to light the lights. And
Okay.
then there were two bigger engines than the one we have that
Mhm.
actually powered all the machinery. When we got it, hadn't really been used for nearly 40 years, but
Oh,
within a few months, the crew had figured out how to get it to operate.
okay.
We've been playing with it ever since.
Okay. I'm sure that's quite a spectacle when people come in to see that.
It is really impressive. And then when you realize that it was the little engine in that factory,
Uh-huh.
it really gives you a whole new perspective. The flywheel on it is 10 feet in diameter and
Wow.
weighs as much as a school bus.
Wow.
So it's a pretty impressive piece of machinery.
Okay. And you mentioned, this is on my mind earlier, do you have any annual fundraising events?
The biggest annual fundraiser that we do is part of the entire Lakeshore Museum Center. We're part of that group. We have
Mhm.
9 rooftops scattered between Muskegon and Muskegon Heights.
Mhm.
And annually we do a fundraiser called the Lumber Barons Ball,
Oh, yes.
which happens usually in October.
Mhm.
It has a different theme each year, so we try to attract new audiences to
Mhm.
come and participate. And we try to make it a fun night. It's not a really highly formal event. It's usually pretty laid back, and
Mhm.
we have some fun music and good food and a lot of social time.
Okay. I was recently talking to people younger than me and talking about the history of Muskegon, and I started talking about the days of lumber, and might as well have been talking about outer space. It, and I couldn't get is that generally considered the beginning of industry in Muskegon?
It really
The
is.
lumber barons?
Muskegon Lake and the Muskegon River were an important part for Native American groups. Part of their seasonal round
Mhm.
was using the natural resources that were here to hunt and fish and
Mhm.
farm. But starting in the late 18th century and in the early 19th century, there were a couple of European fur trade established posts that were established.
Mhm.
But the thing that really got Muskegon off the ground was in 1837, right after this area was opened for settlement. The first sawmill was opened on the shores of Muskegon Lake.
Okay.
And that really made it possible to build homes and opened the potential for the
Mhm.
lumber industry to kick off. And at its peak, I think in 1888, there were 47 sawmills on Muskegon Lake.
Wow.
Depending on whose numbers you look at, somewhere in the low 50s, 55, 57, all in all of Muskegon County between
Wow.
Montague. There were a couple of sawmills on White Lake. There were a couple on Bear Lake. There were a couple on Mona Lake. And then later on, there were a couple scattered inland that didn't quite fit the watersheds that led into those lakes.
Mhm. Wow. Well, and so you mentioned Lakey's earlier. Were they the largest industrial employer?
Continental Motors was coming out of World War II.
I'm sorry, you said Continental.
Yeah, Lakey was a pretty big employer
Mhm.
in the neighborhood of 900 or 1,000 employees on any given day. Campbell Wyatt Cannon, I think, was around 2,500 at their peak.
Mhm.
So they were all pretty huge employers, considering when Continental and CWC were at their peak. Muskegon only had 50,000 people living in it. It's it was a little bigger than it is today, but
Mhm.
the outlying communities like Norton Shores didn't really exist yet.
Mhm. Yeah, and I know the other museum is I'm not going to say the name correctly, but they've done some pieces to talk about the migration from the South into the industries, which my family, a lot of them were a part of that. Do you touch on any of that in your museum as well?
We're addressing it in small ways now.
Mm-hmm.
Most often when we talk about it, it's part of our live interpretation. We're
Mm-hmm.
having one-on-one conversations
Sure.
with people. We can, point at some of the families that are represented in the Black-owned business exhibit.
Mm-hmm.
Almost everyone that's represented in there, their parents or in some cases the founders of those businesses moved from Arkansas or Louisiana,
Mm-hmm.
and you could trace a direct line through their arrival here, working in industry, to their entrepreneurship and creation of family businesses or larger businesses.
Okay. You talk about the shift to small business, not shift, to sort of bring the area up. What could you kind of tell us in general when we talk about the growth and development of small business in Muskegon?
Well, today it's really one of the leading sectors in the local economy. And you have big things like healthcare, which is the largest single employer not in Muskegon County today. But manufacturing is a pretty close second. And then we get into small businesses, and then kind of travel and tourism, I think, round out the top 5. Government is, I think, number 6 here, which is actually pretty low for most communities.
Yes. Yeah. And so this, and of course, a lot of small businesses are tied to other parts of the economy. So your exhibit coming up in May will be, again, sort of small business as well as, I'm sorry, it's radio, media.
Yep.
Media.
I can see why you might think radio first.
Yeah.
It is all of the media representation here has been pretty interesting to learn about. The churches have had a big impact in, especially in television, running community access stations. We've been trying to track down some good video footage of some of the local correspondents and local kids that went on to work in national media. We're still, if anybody has any footage of Ben Watson, who was the Lakeshore reporter who went off to work in Nashville, I think, for the bulk of his career. We're still working on trying to find something good for him. So if anybody has anything, let us know.
Yeah, if he still has family around, but that would be awesome. You may not even know who he is, but yeah. And the reason I was thinking small business, I was reading earlier, and I'd seen one of the, I think on your website, we're talking about Smitty's Furniture. And so, again, a small business, many people in the community will recognize, especially Muskegon Heights, that was there for years.
I think that's one of the most inspiring stories that we have in the museum. Malcolm and Alice Smith were, economic migrants. They came up here right towards the end of World War II. They both worked at the paper mill when they got here, but they had a dream to become entrepreneurs. They wanted to set up a small business, and they sort of grew into it. They had trouble financing the purchase of a house, so Malcolm built one. And then that took off, so he built a couple more for other people, and then used that money to help finance the movement into the furniture business. It wasn't his original goal. He wanted to be a realtor, but the forces kind of conspired against him a little bit. But when they got into the furniture business, they really, it took off, and they became the first Black-owned business in the downtown business district in Muskegon Heights. In 1968, I think they opened up. And they really did just about everything, from carpet sales and installation. I guess Alice even made those vinyl plastic furniture covers that everybody's grandma had at one point.
From my dad's hometown, Plain. Give a shout out to Plainville, Louisiana. Kirk, I want to make sure if folks want to get in touch with you or reach the museum, how can they do that?
Well, we have a social media presence. We're at Muskegon Heritage Museum of Business and Industry on Facebook. We have a website that you can find through our name or through the Lakeshore Museum Center, which is our parent organization. And that includes not only our site, but the Museum of History and Science at 4th and Clay, and the Hackley and Hume historic sites, and the Pressioneer House. And our phone number is 231-722-1363.
Okay. Kirk, with a few seconds left, why don't you give your best invitation to folks to come down to the museum?
We reopen for the season on May 1st, and then right away on Saturday, May 2nd, we have a free community day. This year's themes for the community days are about transportation. So highly encourage you. If you've never come, one of those community days are a great way to come and see us. And then we guarantee you'll have fun and will want to come back and visit more than once. So look forward to having everybody come and visit.
All right, Muskegon, you have been informed and you have been invited. And this is Kirk Bunke, the Muskegon Heritage Museum of Business and Industry. We're going to take a brief break and we'll be back with our next guest.
Many travelers dream of experiencing the beauty of Tanzania, from its stunning national parks to vibrant cultural sites. Yet the costs often seem overwhelming. But with Visit Tanzania for Less, exploring this East African gem on a budget is not only possible, but incredibly rewarding. Whether you're a solo backpacker, a volunteer, or just a budget-conscious traveler, we provide valuable insights and resources to make your journey unforgettable without breaking the bank. Book your trip now with just a $300 deposit and flexible monthly payments until your travel date. For more travel inspiration and tips, follow us on Instagram or visit us at visittanzaniaforless.com. Visit Tanzania for Less, your dream adventure within reach.
When smoking gives you COPD, you learn to lie a little bit. You make up excuses like, I have to get my keys. You guys go on. Anything so you can walk at your own pace. I used to do that all the time. Those lies don't work anymore. My tip is, the worst lies are the lies you tell yourself. Like smoking isn't that dangerous.
You can quit. For free help, visit cdc.gov/tips.
As an Olympic athlete, I prepare for everything. So when I became pregnant, I thought I was ready. But at 32 weeks, I was diagnosed with severe preeclampsia and had an emergency C-section. Looking back, had I known the warning signs, I would have talked to my doctor sooner. Too many women die of pregnancy-related complications, and most are preventable. If you or someone you know is pregnant or recently had a baby, learn the warning signs. It could help save her life. Hear her.
All right, good afternoon. We're back at Community Focus. Again, I am Melvin Burns, half of the dynamic duo that hosts the show. Today we are with the Muskegon Boxing Club, and I'm going to have my two guests introduce themselves. We have with us.
I'm Tony Stone. I kind of run the gym. We've got a few other coaches down there, but basically everybody's getting ready for Golden Gloves today. So you just get me.
All right. And your name is?
I'm Jeremiah Crawford. I'm one of the boxers at the gym.
Okay. So you're here instead of training.
Yep.
Okay.
Getting ready for Golden Gloves.
Okay. So tell us about the Muskegon Boxing Club.
Well, the story actually starts a long time ago. The gym's been around since 1938.
Mm-hmm.
It was kind of started with Pete Petrosky and Kenny Lane when Kenny was getting trained to become probably the best lightweight in history. But the gym's been around since then. It's been in different places, sometimes in a basement, sometimes in a garage. But it's one of the, if not the oldest continuously operated gym in the state.
Okay, awesome. I didn't realize that.
Well, we didn't either until we started doing a little bit of digging.
And if you got, when I saw his interview, I posted a picture from '68, I believe. But my dad was actually a trainer. We trained with Pete Petrosky and two Petroskys, wasn't it? And back when Kenny was fighting, and I called Mr. Walker used to taught in high school. And so
at the same time, Jack Crowell was
around. I've known Jack for quite a few years, and of course I grew up around Solomon Fox and Phil Baldwin and Roy Fox, all those guys.
And Phil, we just lost him last year before last.
A few years ago, yeah.
It's been a couple of years ago.
Yeah, so I grew up around a lot of that. Didn't do it myself, but so you mentioned Golden Gloves coming up. Tell the folks about the Golden Gloves and what that is.
So actually, Golden Gloves is kind of like our Super Bowl. It's our opportunity for what the young men have been doing, and young women. We've got a few of those too.
Mm-hmm.
What they do through the course of the year at the various shows around town, the different gyms, even out of town. Our gym travels. We will go out of state. We'll go and fight.
Mm-hmm.
This is the end of all of that. Everyone fights through their summer, through their springs, all the deals.
Mm-hmm.
Golden Gloves comes around as a chance to show what you've learned through that year.
Okay. Now this will be the is it West Michigan or what's
This is West Michigan.
Okay.
Detroit has their own.
Okay.
They've got a large population there, and actually their boxing community is considerably larger than anywhere else. So they get their own. But once this part's over, and our series runs through April.
Okay.
So we're going to have fights tonight. We'll have fights this weekend. A couple more weeks, there'll be some more fights, and that will go on until we get down to the line where we pick our guys to go to the nationals.
Okay.
And actually, I'm kind of expecting this young man next to me to be part of that trip.
Okay.
He's come in, worked really hard, getting ready for that.
Okay.
You know, so we cycle through. We've got on average about 45 kids that come through our gym in the course of a year.
Okay.
Out of those, maybe 10% actually get to where they're competing at a level.
Okay.
You know, most of them get an opportunity, but not everyone chooses to do it.
Okay. Jeremiah, we talked a little before. What made you get into boxing?
I feel like I was not doing anything in my high school years when I was in 10th grade, and I said, might as well try boxing. I saw it by visiting from one of my mentees, Big Rob.
Okay.
He showed another mentee around, and I actually started wanting to do it. Like, I might as well try to change something.
Okay.
And I found interest in it.
And how old are you now?
I am not. I'm 18.
Okay. And so you have a birthday soon. He's like, are you ready for a birthday? And so you've been fighting for how long now?
I think I've been in the gym for 4 years.
Okay.
So far.
Okay.
You sure it's 4?
Yeah, I think it's 4 because I
I thought
started.
it was 5.
It's like 4.5.
Yeah.
Well, okay.
So watching and seeing it versus actually doing it, what has been the biggest surprise to you about it?
They don't throw no pillow punches at all.
Everyone has a purpose behind it. Huh?
Yeah. When you watch it on TV, it's super different.
Yeah.
You feel the weight of the punches, and also how it can be really draining with your stamina. It's really intense.
3 minutes, no big deal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, everybody's fond of it right up to the first time they get hit in the face.
You know, you've been around boxing a while. Talk about what it means for young men who maybe from the first time they come in the gym till they see themselves, learning a real skill.
Sure. Well, a lot of them, Jeremiah's one of those examples. I deal with a number of folks around town that young men that are having trouble finding their way. I like to think that's what we do is we basically just show them a different path to walk and how to get there. But they come in, and some of them come in with some really high hopes and expectations. they're going to come in and they're going to be the next Muhammad Ali, or they're going to get that Mayweather thing where their arms all down by their side and think they know what they're doing. Find out pretty quick that a straight right will really mess with it. But they come in, and it's really one of the reasons I do it is being able to feel the reward as these young men start coming into themselves. You see when they come in where they're at, how they are. Sometimes they just go and stand in a corner because they're not really ready to integrate to the rest of the group. They don't know how to socialize. And embarrassment. One of the things that I'm really proud of us about is the way that we don't allow that sort of behavior. You don't make fun of someone because they can't jump a rope. No one that came into that gym could jump a rope when they got there. So if anybody's laughing, it's me. I'm okay. I'm allowed.
Okay.
Nobody else can laugh.
So there's a creative environment where guys help other guys there.
Well, that's the plan. We get everyone working together. We kind of treat it as a family. That's part of the coming in part. When they sit down and talk, that's literally the conversation we have. We have the first week is free. Come in, see how you like it, see if it's going to work with you. It's also our opportunity to see if we like you. Is it going to work out? This is kind of a family structure here. And are you going to fit with that?
Okay.
You know, it doesn't mean that someone that's got a bad attitude or is a little off is not going to make it. That's why we're there.
Okay.
But it gives us a starting point.
Okay. Now we talked about the Golden Gloves are actually taking place this weekend, starting tonight. Where will these fights be?
The fights are going to be at Aquinas College
Okay.
in Grand Rapids.
Okay.
And tonight is the kind of the opening night.
Okay.
Generally, the fights tonight are going to be mostly matched bouts.
Okay.
It'll be folks that aren't really, they're not competing in the tournament because of age, which is another thing that we're going to start taking some shots at before long.
Okay.
The way they've structured the ages for competing now, you've got to be 18 for the Golden Gloves,
Oh.
but 15 is the top age for Silver Gloves.
Okay.
So what do the kids do for that time in between?
Okay.
They can't compete with either one of them. And to my thinking and an awful lot of the other coaches, that's just wrong.
So you got a 3-year gap where they can't compete?
They can't be in Golden
Okay.
Gloves, so
Okay.
there's no chance of getting a national title from that. They can't compete in Silver Gloves.
So is that relatively new, about 18 for Golden Gloves?
Yeah, there's always been an age there, but part of the challenge was some of these matches, if it looks like it's going to be an age difference,
Mhm.
you've got to go back each time to get parental consent.
I see.
And you're in the middle of a tournament. Sometimes it's kind of hard to find. Well, okay, my boy won twice now.
Mhm.
We didn't anticipate this. So
Okay.
or is it okay for this fight?
Mhm.
And that ties them up for a while. So it's kind of hard keeping that focus.
Okay.
And my number, it may be 16 for Silver Gloves. I don't,
Mhm.
but it seems to
Okay.
me it was 15.
Okay.
But it's still enough of a gap that all of the work that they've done getting ready for the Super Bowl, so to speak,
Mhm.
sorry you don't get to play.
Okay. Yeah.
We've got a young man fighting tonight that because he's not 18, he isn't in the tournament per se. He's in a matched bout.
I see.
He'll still get to fight in front of a crowd. He'll still get to have the audience,
Yeah. Yeah.
but he can't advance. I know all the coaches have one that they feel should be the same way.
Oh, sure.
Everyone thinks their kid is the best.
Yeah,
My child is better than your
Mhm.
child.
Yeah.
But this young man, we're going to be seeing a lot of him
Okay.
come next year.
Okay. And how many fighters do you expect to fight over the weekend?
We have 4.
Okay.
2 are looking for matched bouts, and 2 will actually be in the tournament.
Okay.
We're kind of joking about it. Our 2 that are actually in the competition and going are both named Jeremiah.
Oh,
So
okay.
we don't have to change names when we're yelling. We can scream Jeremiah,
Really.
and whichever one of them is looking.
Now,
That's
you
what-
fighting this weekend, Jeremy?
Yeah,
he's
Okay.
fighting Saturday.
Oh, you fighting Saturday? And
Yeah.
what weight class do you fight in?
heavyweight.
Heavyweight.
Yeah.
Okay. And what's your record so far?
It's 4-7 the last
Okay.
time I checked.
Okay. Looking forward to it.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to
You
it.
got a
I've been
surprise.
excited.
Do you know in advance who you be fighting?
He knows now. I just told him.
Yeah, I'll be fighting open right
Okay.
now. So yeah, because I had over 10 fights.
Okay.
No, he crossed the mark that moves from novice to open fighter.
I see.
Less than 10 fights, you're classified as a novice. So the guys that you're fighting, it's going to be watched a little closer
Yeah,
who you get.
yeah.
And it also keeps us from taking someone coming in with their first 2 fights and now they're fighting a guy that's had 12 or 14. So there's some good separation there.
And that's one of the things that I like to point out to people. This is a sport, and they look out for protecting kids, and maybe too much so at times.
No,
But,
absolutely.
the idea that you won't get a kid coming in with 2 fights versus somebody with 50, that you
No.
won't find those kind of disparities.
No, and if the coach is doing his job, it never even comes up for discussion. Part of the protection, we fall under the USA Sports umbrella.
Mhm.
We're USA Boxing is our
Yes.
side of it.
Mhm.
And that's the group that sets all the rules and regulations for all of the amateur sports. Even the Olympics is through USA
Yes.
Boxing in a form,
Mhm.
or through USA Sports. That makes us a sanctioned gym.
Mhm.
So all of our coaches get certified every year. They go through a process of making sure they've got this, and this in place.
Mhm.
Some of it seems kind of redundant.
Mhm.
Some of it seems kind of simple.
Mhm.
If you've been around a minute, you know most of the answers.
Mhm. Yes.
But this is more a matter of a self-check to make sure that you're still on. Do you know what a concussion is? Do you know what heat stroke is? Do you know what to do if someone gets hurt?
Sure.
Do you know how to talk to your team? Do you know how to avoid the harassment issues that come along with an environment like
Sure.
that? So there's a lot that goes into being in. We're not just a hole in the wall, sit back, everybody had a backyard, now we're boxing. You have to go through a process to be part of that.
Okay. Yeah, and during my lifetime, boxing was something girls didn't do.
This
So
is true.
now, interest in growing sport. Talk about that a little bit.
I think that it's refreshing, it's
Mhm.
inspirational, and I think for a lot of people, this is a chance where a girl gets to come in, learn not just how to take care of herself,
Mhm.
but I think it does a lot of character building as well. You learn things that you have to do in personal responsibility.
Mhm.
When you put those together and get a little bit of skill behind it to where you can take care of yourself in a situation.
Mhm.
Now, maybe a little rambling, but one of the things that I learned, I've been around martial arts my entire life,
Okay.
from when I was here all the way up.
Okay.
Through judo, jujitsu, karate, kung fu, all of it.
Mhm.
The thing that I've learned through that entire process is we want to stop fights. We want to keep people from getting into fights.
Mhm.
How do you get there? What do you do to avoid it?
Yes.
And the thing that has become the most apparent over all the years is really so simple. When someone really learns how to take care of themselves, there's
Mhm.
less reason to get in those situations.
Yeah.
You don't have anything to prove to anyone.
Yeah.
And honestly, with the young men in particular, that's where a lot of the problem comes from. They're trying to prove their masculinity, or they're trying to prove that they're grown, or,
Mhm.
some just want to be the baddest kid in school.
Yeah.
It's kind of hard to do that when the guy that you're trying to bully doesn't care.
Different perspective. Huh?
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
that's good.
I think that we see a lot of that. That's what I was talking about with the path.
Mhm.
There's a path that kids follow. They follow by their peers. They follow by what they got at home. They follow by things they've seen on television, but they don't pick their own path.
Mhm.
And it's important, I think, especially at the age group that we generally see,
Mhm.
that they start finding a path of their own.
Mhm.
It's great to want to be like your dad. It's great to want to be like your uncles or your other family members. But it's also important for you to be you.
Mhm.
And to be you, you've kind of got to understand you. And I think boxing brings that out. You get to find where your weaknesses are. You get to find where you have to push yourself to achieve something.
Mhm.
You have to learn how to pick yourself up when you're knocked down. How do I keep going?
Mhm.
And I think it builds inner strength. And it does the same thing for the ladies.
Yeah.
I've got a couple of ladies in there now that we won't get too far into their age, but they're not exactly teenagers anymore.
Okay.
And one of those ladies comes in and she starts work the minute she comes in. She doesn't stop until she leaves.
Okay.
And what's really refreshing is looking around and seeing a lot of these young folks are looking over and watching her,
Mhm.
seeing that she's there and
Yeah.
she's not playing.
Mhm.
The girls themselves are getting further forward. They're
Mhm.
building a skill set.
Mhm.
Honestly, the first week or two is usually telling. They're either going to stay
Mhm.
or, okay, this really isn't for me. I'm too pretty. I don't want to get hit in the face anymore. Or this hurts. Or I don't like being the only female in this testosterone laden environment.
Yeah.
So I think we've got probably a melting pot is a good way to put it.
Mhm.
No one in there is looked at as better than anyone else. No one, when they're sweating, they're all the same.
Yeah.
We all sweat, we all bleed, and it hurts everybody just the same when you get hit.
Yeah. Jeremiah, at your age, how do you talk to somebody at your age and I don't know, maybe convince or tell them something they may want to try? How do you do that?
For boxing?
Yes, for boxing.
I say it's a good disciplinary sport, and it helps get a lot of that frustration out as well.
Mhm.
That can build up over time from past trauma as well.
Okay.
It's a good venting place as well.
Okay.
too.
Okay. And have you been able to draw into your friends or guys to come into the gym and try it out?
Yeah, I got a couple of them. They went in and out, but when they did do it, they said they enjoyed it.
Okay. Okay. Good.
It's not something that it's not for everybody.
Yeah.
You know, there are an awful lot of people walking out that some of them come to the gym just so they can tell the girls they're a boxer. I mean, literally, they have their bag. A lot of them will go ahead and they'll buy fancy new equipment, and they'll come in, work for 5 minutes, and then strut around. I'm a boxer.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
doesn't take long before they either decide they actually become one,
Okay.
or they find another place to go.
Okay.
They're welcome there. The amount of attention that someone gets is also based on their level of participation. You know, if you come in and you're doing things and you're working and you're doing it right, you're going to have coaches all over you. We've got 4 or 5 at any given time.
Okay.
They're not all there at the same time, usually 2 or 3 of us.
Okay.
But we find our way around who's doing what. You see each person's skill level. You kind of work that one. We put them together in their own environment.
Okay.
But each person is watched.
Okay.
And I think that is also part of what helps with them, because they know that people are paying attention.
Okay. Tell people where Muskegon Bicycle Club is located.
We're right up on top of Jackson Hill in Smith Ryerson Park.
Okay.
Address is 550 Wood Street. Don't believe your GPS. It will get you almost there, and it will show you an old building that used to be a church. Just keep going.
Okay.
And
And
you'll run into the park.
and there's a room where people want to volunteer or contribute, provide support. How can people do that?
Well, funny you should say that.
Okay.
Because within the next couple of days, our GoFundMe will be started again.
Okay.
Getting ready for our show. We put on a show annually in September,
Okay.
the Kenny Lane Classic.
Yes.
And we've waited a lot of times until July to really start pushing.
Okay.
Because when you look up nonprofit in the dictionary, there's literally a 3-angle picture of our gym. We are the very definition of nonprofit.
Okay.
And this is when we start reaching out and holding our hand out, people help.
Yeah.
So that's the best way. If it goes through a GoFundMe, or they can come by the gym and write a check, drop off cash. We take it all.
Okay.
And all of that helps towards getting ready for these tournaments. If we go to the Nationals, for example, if Jeremiah fights his way to the Nationals, that trip ends up costing the gym around $5,000.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
It costs almost $3,000 to do our show. We get $80 a year per kid.
Okay.
So 10 people, $800.
Gotcha.
Okay, that doesn't go a really long way.
Sure.
But we've got a lot of help, with community people showing up around those times. Last year, we ended up with enough donations to pay for the show. When it was over, we broke even. We got back what we spent for the show.
Gotcha.
And that helps to carry us through the year.
Okay.
So this year, we're trying to push a little harder to get a little further down the road and maybe build up something before it happens. 2 ways. GoFundMe, cash, check, stop in and visit.
Sure.
And if nothing else, stop in and take a look anyway. Look at what we're doing in the community. Who's there? We're fortunate in that we have help from the city with our location. As far as our rent and utilities, they help us with that a lot. Without them, I don't know really where we would be located. We've been in that spot now for 16 years.
Gotcha. Okay.
But aside from that, things like tape, gauze, gloves, equipment, cups, headgear, all of those things come out of our pockets.
Gotcha. Yep.
So yes, we need help.
Yeah. It's a good place to look for some support. All right. Jeremiah, tell you, if you don't mind sharing with us a little bit, what are your goals once you participate in the sport?
My goals, I want to at least feel like I could prove myself, at least for myself, that I can at least win something, or win or lose, that I did it. I can say I had that stamp, but I did it. I didn't back down or give up any other way. I put my 110% into it.
Okay, good. That's the only way you get something out of it, isn't it? Yeah.
Well, it's been more than enjoyable watching his journey to this point. When I talked about young men coming in and hanging out in the corner and whatnot, Jeremiah was one of those.
Okay.
When he first came in, we have a little different view of how he got to the gym. I remember looking up and seeing Rob Roundtree coming in with somebody by their ear saying, "Here, talk to him."
May not have been totally voluntary.
But we talked, and Jeremiah was not the most coordinated individual when it came to getting in the ring. I didn't move around a lot. And through his own efforts and how hard he's pushed himself, Jeremiah is one of the best fighters we've got in the gym.
Awesome.
And I look to see a lot of things happen for him. That's an achievement on his own. That's kind of for one of the other things that boxing does. You know, you'd ask what they get out of it. Part of it is he's got a tremendous support system. There's everybody's there cheering for him, but he's the one in the middle of the ring getting hit in the face. You know, it's on him when he gets into that part.
Yes.
Did you do what you needed to do? Did you work? Are you learning? Did you get it together? You've proven it to yourself. It doesn't matter what the audience sees or someone else sees. You see it yourself. And like he said, win or lose, he knows that he's done this.
Yes.
You know, I didn't do it. Coach Bill didn't do it. Coach Troy didn't do it. Jeremiah did it. And that's what we want at the end of the day. They know they set a goal, they set a target, they achieved it, they worked at it, and they come away with something they can carry with them.
Okay.
You don't hear most of our guys talking about how bad it was to lose. You know, it's they talk about where they're going next.
Okay. Yeah, that's good.
You know, best lessons you learn generally are losing.
Yeah.
You know, when somebody whoops your butt, you go figure out
that's
why.
not going to happen again. you should learn that. Yeah.
Well, if you don't, then maybe you don't do that again.
There you go. Tony, Jeremiah, thank you guys so much for coming in. Want to wish the club the best of success this weekend. Jeremiah, wish you success this weekend. Go out and make Muskegon proud, all right?
Yeah.
Folks, it's the Muskegon Boxing Club. You can check them out at the Golden Gloves this weekend at Kiwanis College. You can also meet them at the Smith Ryerson Playfield, and they have a spot for you. And if you want to donate, they also have a spot for you. Guys, thanks so much for coming in and good luck.
Well, thanks for taking the time for us. We really appreciate it.
Anytime. All right, folks, thank you so much for tuning into our program today. We're going to punch out just a little bit early, but you know what? We'll be back here next Friday at the same time. Look forward to seeing you then. And as my brother Gregory T always says, go out and be a blessing to somebody. Take care now.
The wait is over. The all-new Umoja Radio Network, home to over 40 Black-owned radio stations and podcasts, is here for you. Connect to the world's fastest-growing collection of unapologetically Black and proud media, from podcasts to independent Black-owned radio stations, and access to the important news and music you need. Umoja Radio is from our culture, by our culture, for our culture. The all-new Umoja Radio is available right now on Google Play and the Apple Store. Join the movement. Be empowered.